if you look at the Quran, for example, Jesus was mentioned 25 plus times in the Quran. The other thing that you might find interesting is also the Virgin Mary, right? I mean, she was mentioned 30 plus times in the Quran. She's revered, right?
Really?
Absolutely. The keys to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, okay, did not belong to any of the Christian denominations because they couldn't agree amongst themselves, right? And actually that key was handed to, at the time, Salah ad-Din. And even today,
Welcome back, everyone. This time we're going to expose an exclusive clip from someone who seems to be on a mission to expose all the propaganda and lies the West has been spreading for the past 2 decades. Yes, Tucker Carlson. This man flew all the way to Jordan to find out firsthand whether Christians are truly being persecuted in Muslim lands. And is the information he heard from Western media really happening in Muslim lands? Let's hear what he has to say.
One of the reasons I wanted to talk to you was even I was amazed to discover how many prominent, like truly prominent Christian families there are in Jordan. A lot, and you're from one of the most prominent. What's it like to be a Christian in an overwhelmingly Muslim country here?
well, Christians here in Jordan have always felt, really one and the same with the Muslims in Jordan. And it goes back thousands of years, really, Tucker. So it's always felt like we're really one and the same. Islam is very much an integral part of our culture as Christians here. Yeah, we feel very comfortable.
As Christians here?
As Christians, absolutely.
So you went to school, a number of very prominent schools in the United States. You spent a lot of time living in the U.S., so you know that most Americans are going to be surprised to hear that.
Oh, of course. I mean, a lot of my American friends, when I first met them, they were surprised that, I'm Christian from Jordan. And I'm like, what do you mean? I mean, this is where Christianity started, right? We are the ancient Christians.
Yes.
So, of course, there are Christians in Jordan. And it's just a very special place to be. I hope you've had some time to...
I've had an amazing time. I've been to this country before, and I've always felt comfortable here. And if you say that, in the West, people are either incredulous or they accuse you of being a secret Muslim or jihadi or something, which I'm not at all. But I'm really struck that you said Islam is an integral part of the culture for Christians here. What does that mean?
Well, look, it's the faith traditions are so similar. It's remarkable. I mean, if you look at the Quran, for example, the Quran is Jesus was mentioned 25 plus times in the Quran, and he was mentioned under different words, different names. So Isa is what his name is in Arabic. The Word of God. That's actually from the Quran. The Messiah, Al-Masih. That's also Ibn Maryam, son of Maryam. The other thing that you might find interesting is also the Virgin Mary, right? I mean, she was mentioned 30 plus times in the Quran. She's revered, right? Actually, she was the only woman whose name was actually mentioned in the Quran. No other name of a woman has been, I mean, there was...
Really?
Absolutely. Maryam's is the only name that's named by name in the Quran as a woman.
As the mother of Jesus.
As the mother of Jesus. There is a whole chapter in the Quran just dedicated for the Virgin Mary. So you can see, and of course the same prophets, many of the same prophets, whether it's Elijah or Moses or Abraham or, they're in the Quran. As they are in the New Testament and the Old Testament. So the faith traditions are very similar. So that's why the Muslims are actually very accepting of the Christian faith traditions. They are encompassing of the Christian faith traditions. So yeah, I mean...
And you're saying this as a Christian?
I'm saying this as a Christian here in Jordan. Absolutely.
I'm at a disadvantage because I have not read the Quran. Mm-hmm. I'll just say that. But we have been taught for 25 years, since 9/11, that Islam is inherently hostile to Christianity. But you don't believe that?
I totally disagree with that. I think hostility is, is a human thing.
Yes.
You find humans on all sides of the spectrum that are, compassionate or hostile. That's a common thing across humanity, across the world. But to demonize one religion, to say everyone in that religion is hostile, is an atrocity, Tucker. It's absolutely not true.
I agree with that. Did you experience discrimination growing up here as a Christian?
Never. I've never felt discriminated against as a Christian. Of course, there's people that don't sometimes understand Christian religious tradition, and there are sometimes questions, and there are sometimes theological, of course, differences, and you can have a discussion about that and argue about that, right? But discrimination, in terms of I feel at a disadvantage to be Christian here, absolutely not. The Hashemites are very much the custodians of the Christian and the Muslim sites in Jerusalem. Yes. And I think maybe that, if you allow me, Tucker, I think that's something that people don't realize, is that a lot of the restoration work that happens there is very much funded personally by the king. I mean, the tomb of Jesus Christ in the Holy Sepulchre was restored by personal donations from King Abdullah. And it says something.
What?
Absolutely, yeah.
The tomb of Jesus was restored by the Muslim king of Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, that's the king of Jordan.
It's kind of a surprise ending to the story, I have to say. I don't think...
He's a direct descendant of the Prophet Muhammad, right? And he's the one restoring the tomb of Jesus Christ. And I think that's this interfaith story.
That's true?
It is true. There's another story on the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. I think it shows you just how old these traditions are in the region and how welcoming it used to be to people from across all faiths, be they Jewish or Christian or Muslim, right, in the past. So since, I think 1,000 years ago, since Salahuddin or Saladin, right?
Yeah.
The keys to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, did not belong to any of the Christian denominations because they couldn't agree amongst themselves, right? The Armenian, the Orthodox, the Catholic, Ethiopian, like who's going to have the key to the church, right? And actually that key was handed to, at the time, Salahuddin. And even today, those keys are handed to a Muslim family. It's, I think, the Nsebe family of Jerusalem. They open the church in the morning, and they close the church at night. So that's the kind of these are the stories we grew up with as Christians in the region, as Muslims in the region, even as Arab Jews, right, from the region. This is sort of the faith and the common faith and cultural tradition we grew up with here.
So your family, I think I understand this, is at the level of prominence that you're going to have to deal with the government at a certain point. Yeah, okay.
Of course, yeah.
This is a small country, it's a monarchy. You've never had any problems dealing with the government as a Christian?
No, actually, that's a great question. So Christians are very well represented here, as you can imagine. They're really part of the social fabric of the economy and the political environment. So Christians are represented, in the Senate, in Parliament, in government, in the military, in the private sector, even though we are a minority, right? But the representation is everywhere.
Well, you're a tiny minority, right?
We are like probably 2-3% at this stage.
I'm just guessing, but it seems like if you're 2 or 3% of the population, you seem disproportionately represented among the affluent.
Possibly. I think maybe minorities everywhere around the world, that's the case.
Yes, it is. Actually, that is true.
If you think about it, right? But I don't know. I've never measured that. I don't know if there are statistics.
But that's never been a problem, I guess, because you do see minority groups around the world, as you said. Oh. The Indians in Uganda in the 70s, or name a group, but the minority group often is disproportionately successful, and then they are persecuted for that.
Right.
And that has not happened here.
No, absolutely not. And there's a reason, I think it's why it is. I'll tell you, I was thinking about sort of why is Jordan a special sort of model for that, right? Of coexistence, of interfaith harmony. I think there's 3 things, Tucker, and if these 3 things are there, Christian minorities in the Holy Land, they will thrive. Number 1 is we have constitutional rights as equal citizens. It's in the Jordanian constitution. So Christians and Muslims here have the same rights, complete equality. When it comes to even matters relating to Christian affairs, whether it's marriages and even some civil affairs, there are Christian courts that are different from the Sharia courts that there are for Muslims. So in that sense, there's this sort of coexistence. But when it comes to, of course, civil and commercial and all of those kinds of laws, those apply to all of us equally here in Jordan. So constitutional rights are protected. That's number one.
So so Christianity is an official religion here.
Absolutely. I mean, there's in the Constitution, there's freedom of worship, freedom of religion in the Constitution. So so very importantly, if you want to protect Christian minorities or any minority in that regard anywhere in the world, constitutional rights have to be established. And they were established here from the very start, right? When the Jordanian tribes and the Hashemites agreed to form a constitution. And they've been there since then. So I would say that's the first thing. The second thing, which I really think is important, is stability.
Yeah.
Right. And the moment you don't have stability, the first to suffer are the minorities.
Are the weak, of course.
Are the weak. And, stability is so important. Economic stability, political stability, security stability. And that's why it's so sacred, actually, to ensure that there is stability in the region. I would say the last thing is leadership. We're very fortunate here to have, His Majesty King Abdullah and the Hashemite leadership. I mean, truly, really tremendously fortunate, because the Hashemites have always been about interfaith dialogue, discourse, meritocracy, compassion, mercy. So I think when you have, great leadership, stability, and constitutional rights, a Christian minority can thrive, and that's what we have here.
It's just interesting, and you know this because you spent so much time in the United States, that I don't think it would enter the minds of most Americans that a Christian could be better treated here in Jordan than in Israel.
I mean, I see the stories of how Christians are suffering in Israel, especially the Palestinian Christians. I haven't had the unfortunate experience of going through that suffering, but I don't think it's just the Christians. I think there's the occupation is an equal opportunity. I mean, my advice would be to the Christians that really care in the U.S. is talk to us. Talk to the ancient Christians. We've been here since Christ. We're here. Don't just listen to the DC experts.
So they don't reach out to you?
No, in fact, I think what I'm sharing with you today is something that's novel, right? This is not a narrative, I don't think, that you hear, right? In the U.S. a lot.
Ever. I feel shame listening to you, and I rarely feel shame, but I do feel shame listening to you that I didn't know more about this, because I am a Christian, and I think we have an obligation to know what our tax dollars do to our fellow Christians. And I just haven't spent enough time thinking about it. And I think it's very odd that Christians in Jordan and in Israel aren't receiving help from Christians in the West. Do you think that?
I do. I think it's odd. And going back to sort of why the Jordanian sort of experience is unique, remember those three things, stability is one of them. If the Christians in the U.S. and in the West, right, if they really cared about sort of the minority Christian communities here in the Holy Lands, if they really do, and if they don't, they have to really think about why they don't.
Oh,
right?
I agree.
And I assume most of them do, right? And if they do, they really have to think about stability. And this is important to mention, Tucker, but possibly the most destabilizing thing happening in the region, right, is the situation in Israel-Palestine. Without a just resolution, a just resolution for the situation of the Palestinians there, it's going to be even more destabilizing for communities in Palestine, in Jordan, across the region.
What is likely to happen in Gaza next? What happens to all the people in Gaza?
I mean, it's a genocide, right? They have to stay. we have to rebuild their homes and, their livelihoods, their communities. That's I think the only solution, Tucker. I mean, I don't see anyone that can accept morally, even politically, even just on a humanitarian basis, right? A forced expulsion, right, of people from Gaza, from their native homeland.
Of millions of people?
Of millions of people.
That hasn't happened, since the Second World War, so you hope it wouldn't happen now. But do you think that might happen?
I'm not qualified, I
Yes,
think, to answer that question. All I can tell you is if it does happen on our watch, all of us are accountable for it.
I agree. Yeah, I agree completely.